Seems like the Big Ten may be subtly and sneakingly trying to lure Notre Dame into the Big Ten finally. As much as Notre Dame resists and still wants their independence, there's a little trick, a little magic trick that old Kevin Warren's trying to perform in trying to force Notre Dame to join the Big Ten. Will it work? Or will it backfire on Kevin Warren? Let's talk about it. The home of the common Joe and the common Sally in the know, even more so than all those media talking. Well, here we go again on our own, like that old great Whitesnake song that I like to reference quite a bit. But before we get to our topic at hand, I'd like to do the random thought of the day, which has become a popular segment on the Outlaw of College Football. And my random thought of the day is, wonder who the Canadian version of Alabama and Ohio State is. Because Canadians have had a professional football league for quite some time. I even think the CFL may be older than the NFL. So I was like, I wonder who their bizarro version is of Alabama and Ohio State, Oklahoma and Notre Dame and all these other traditional powers. Who's their traditional power that stands out? And I looked it up. And it's a university by the name of Laval Rouge. It's located in, I think, the province of Quebec, maybe Montreal. And they've won the Vanier Cup, which is their national championship, 10 times. So I was thinking to myself, wouldn't it be cool if the Canadian national champion scheduled a game with the college football national champion here in the States? Maybe have Alabama play Laval, Ohio State maybe play Laval. I think that'd be pretty cool. Just thinking outside the box, but their fields are 110 yards in the CFL. One of their college leagues are at 110 yards as well. So I wonder what we'd be playing under. Canadian rules or American rules? Just something to think about. Give me your random thought of the day. Now, moving on to the topic at hand. Oh, by the way, you know what it is. This is the OCF. I am the Outlaw of College Football. My name is JPC. And today I want to talk about the Big Ten trying to possibly force banish, or banish force, whatever way you want to say it, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish into joining the Big Ten. Now, they've been subtly doing things. First of all, they went out and got USC and UCLA, and we all know USC is a long-time rival for Notre Dame. Now they're talking about getting Stanford in there, and Stanford's also a long-time rival of Notre Dame. Then they got NBC in the mix, which is a long-time network of Notre Dame football. So now there's been rumors, and I saw it on 3.com with Dan Patrick, was saying that he thinks that these conferences like the Big Ten may put the pressure on Notre Dame by banishing their teams from playing them. Or maybe not banishing, but maybe suggesting to them, hey, let's not play them until they join our conference. Let's stop giving them revenue and make them join a conference and make them, sharing the monies and them not get all the money to themselves, which is Notre Dame's done for a long time. And that's the issue that a lot of people have with Notre Dame's independence. But I like to go back to something I've talked about before. People think that this is all about the Big Ten wanting Notre Dame and they can just get over it. Well, the fact is, if you go back in your history books and look, actually the first two times it was broached, Notre Dame was the one that wanted to join the Big Ten. Back in the 1930s and the 1960s, two separate times, Notre Dame petitioned for membership in the Big Ten, and the Big Ten turned them down. Now you fast forward to the 1990s and current day, two more times the subject was broached about them joining Big Ten. This time, it was the Big Ten that came to them, and both times Notre Dame turned them down. Well, now we're at an impasse here, so to speak, where they've got tick for tack 2-2. So will Notre Dame finally succumb to join a conference because of all the stuff that the Big Ten's offering? And the fact that they might just suggest to Michigan State and Purdue, which may not be a huge loss for Notre Dame, but they're long-standing rivals, suggesting to Michigan State and Purdue that they stop playing Notre Dame until they acquiesce. Same thing with USC. USC's now joining the Big Ten, so that would be a huge rival that Notre Dame would lose if that came to pass, if they were to decide to stop playing Notre Dame until they joined the conference. The whole USC thing could push Notre Dame in there, but it may backfire on the Big Ten and Kevin Warren, just like when he tried to stamp out college football in 2020 with his political agendas. He's done some good things here recently. He's sort of recovering from that debacle of 2020 with the addition of UCLA and USC. But by trying to force Notre Dame to do something, sometimes that's not a wise thing, because you've seen in the past from a lot of their administration, and even today with Swarbrick, he's a very wiry guy, personality-wise, and he tends to have a little bit of a spine from what I've seen. Notre Dame, you got to admire them a little bit, because they will turn down a few extra millions just to keep what they consider their true identity, which is independence. But it may push the button in a way that Kevin Warren don't want, that not many people's thinking of. Yeah, it's true that they could force them to join the conference by doing those things, because the ACC and the Big 12 and the Pac-12 and whatnot, they're not powerful enough to stand up to the Big Ten and give Notre Dame some kind of deal so they could avoid that. As a matter of fact, the Big Ten's already went out and fractured the Pac-12, who they were supposed to have a long-standing love affair with from back in the Rose Bowl days. They went out and turned on them and took two of the best teams in the biggest market in Los Angeles. But there is that one conference out there, and Notre Dame can say, hey, look, you might be able to bully everybody else, Big Ten and Kevin Warren, but there's one conference you can't bully, and that's the SEC. If you want to try to bully us into joining by saying you're not going to play ball with us anymore, you're going to take your ball and go home, like the Ivy League did back about 100 years ago or 70 years ago, go ahead. We can form new rivalries. We can get us a different Southern rivalry. Instead of Southern California, they could play the Alabama Crimson Tide every year. That's one team that can trump just about any team out there, whether people want to be there or not. I know they're my team, and you might be thinking I'm being a little biased here, but if you look at the facts, just look at the facts and look at the histories, you'll see that Notre Dame could pick up Alabama, and it would probably be just as good a rivalry as USC, because Alabama and Notre Dame are two of the most historically great programs of all time, at least two of the top five. Alabama, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Michigan, Ohio State, maybe Southern Cal. But Alabama and USC would be easily interchangeable. So careful what you do, Kevin Warren. Careful on how you approach Notre Dame. Instead of trying to force them and banish them from playing your teams, just dangle those carrots that you have right now in a non-confrontational type way. And Notre Dame may just come to play in the Big Ten after all. And that's all I got to say about that. You guys and gals, tell me what you think about this situation. Do you think it's far-fetched? Or do you think that Notre Dame could be forced to join the Big Ten? Or will they buck the Big Ten and say, hey, look, we're going to stay independent, and hell, we might even join the SEC just to piss you off, Kevin Warren. And with that, I'm out of here. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. That's the big one. Subscribe to this channel. And as always, KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.